A woman serving a prison sentence at the Fluvanna Correctional Center for Women has been given just months to live, and her family is hoping to get her home so she can live her final days with them. But it hasn't been an easy process.
New tonight at 11 o'clock, Nightcast reporter Rachel Ryan joins us with the details. Rachel?
Well, Dan and Michelle, Donna Kidd has a terminal illness. Her doctors have recommended she spend her final days at home with her family, but the Virginia Department of Corrections has spent months reviewing her case, and her family is worried she's running out of time.
Donna Kidd's family has one request.
We just want her released from prison so she can die at home, and I don't think anybody should have to die in prison.
Kidd has less than a year left to serve on her 12-year sentence for writing bad checks and stealing credit cards, but doctors say she won't live that long, and her family is on a mission to bring her home.
We're just hoping to get her here. Maybe get her some help so she could live a little longer.
Kidd suffers from hepatitis C and cirrhosis of the liver, and her doctors say it's terminal. In this letter, UVA physicians sent to the medical staff at the Fluvanna Correctional Center for Women, they recommend Kidd be given medical clemency and released early on humanitarian grounds, stating Kidd has 3 months to live. That letter was sent in July. 3 months later, there's been no response. Kidd's family members fear time is running out.
I call them, 2 or 3 times a week to try to get an answer. I email them and check my emails 4 and 5 times a day to see if I've gotten any kind of answer on anything.
It's ultimately up to the governor's office, but no action can be taken until the Department of Corrections signs off on an early release. From her prison cell, Kidd wrote the governor, pleading to spend her last days at home with her family. And there's nothing her 2 daughters would like more.
She's my mom. I don't want her to die in prison.
Even if it was just a couple days, it would make things a whole lot better.
A lawsuit has been filed against the Fluvanna Correctional Center for Women, accusing the prison of cruel and unusual punishment. Kidd is not one of the 5 original inmates the suit was filed on behalf of, but attorneys have filed motions to make this a class action lawsuit. Live in the newsroom, Rachel Ryan, CBS 19 News.
New at 11 tonight, a woman fighting terminal illness behind bars denied medical clemency, meaning she will not be allowed to spend her last days at home with her family.
The governor is the only one with the power to grant Donna Kidd an early release, but even he can't review the case because it's been blocked by prison doctors. Rachel Ryan investigates.
It's heartbreaking to see my mom just lay there and I can't do anything about it.
It's a lot of heartbreak. Seeing her in the condition she's in and not being able to do anything and just having everybody tell us no, there's nothing we can do.
The family of Donna Kidd is fighting to get her released early from prison so she can spend her last days with them at home instead of behind bars at the Fluvanna Correctional Center for Women.
She wants to die at home, and I believe that her time has been served.
Kidd has less than a year to serve on her 12-year prison sentence for writing bad checks. She suffers from cirrhosis of the liver and hepatitis C. And in July, doctors at UVA recommended Kidd be released early on humanitarian grounds.
And she's not doing good at all. Her kidneys are failing, so it's just not looking real good for her at all.
Her family filed for medical clemency.
It's a request that the governor, in his mercy, allow the prisoner to shorten his or her sentence and return home basically to die.
But Governor Bob McDonnell won't see this case or be able to make a decision on early release because the Department of Corrections has blocked it from ever reaching his desk. As the rules go in the Commonwealth, the treating physician and the medical staff at the prison must agree to the medical clemency before passing it along to the governor. In Kidd's case, the prison doctors say her health isn't bad enough to consider clemency. Meanwhile, those doctors at the Fluvanna Correctional Center are facing a class action lawsuit over inadequate health care. The process for requesting medical clemency is different in every state, but in Virginia,
it happens very rarely, very rarely.
In fact, over the past 20 years, only 31 inmates have been given medical clemency. 4 of them were women, compared to states like North Carolina and Oklahoma, where inmates are released 10 times as often.
I reached out to Governor Bob McDonnell today. His office released this statement, quote, Ms. Kidd's petition is progressing through the normal review process.
I'm just pleading to the governor, the senator, or anybody that's out there to please just help us, give us an early release so she can go home. She doesn't have that long left on her sentence. And we just want to take her home and make her, more comfortable there to live out the rest of her days.
Kid has been in prison for most of her children's lives, and they'd like to be able to make up for lost time before it's too late.
I would like to spend Christmas with her, first time ever. It would just be really nice.
It would mean the world to have her home, at least for Thanksgiving and Christmas, if she even lives that long. That we don't know. She could die tonight. We don't know.
Kid's health is deteriorating quickly, and visits are limited at the prison and the hospital. After their last visit, many of Kid's family members left, wondering if it would be the last time they saw her alive.
I just told her I loved her. I said, don't give up, keep fighting to live, and I'm going to keep fighting to get you out of here and get you home.
A story we've been following out of the women's prison in Fluvanna County. A dying inmate has been granted early release to spend her final days at home.
And that news comes after months of battling the Department of Corrections and the governor's office, who originally blocked that request. Nightcast reporter Rachel Ryan has the details, new at 11.
After more than a decade behind bars at the Fluvanna Correctional Center for Women, Donna Kidd heard the words she'd been waiting for. She was going home, released on medical clemency.
I was in shock. I was like, oh, really? My heart dropped. And I was so excited. I was so excited I couldn't cry. I felt like I've cried enough.
Kidd suffers from hepatitis C and cirrhosis of the liver. Her organs are failing, and doctors say she only has weeks to live. But her family is just happy to have her home so they can spend her last days together.
Nobody wants to die in prison, and especially if they're not in there for life, if they're only in there for a short time, they shouldn't have to die there.
In July, Kidd's doctors at UVA recommended she be given medical clemency, but the Department of Corrections disagreed and blocked the request from going to the governor's office for approval in November. Weeks later, that decision was overturned, and Governor Bob McDonnell granted Kidd's request for clemency.
If the Lord hadn't touched the governor, I'd still be there. Probably dead by now.
Kidd has less than a year to serve on her 12-year sentence for fraud and larceny charges. Because she was granted a conditional release, she must wear a tracking device and can't leave the house. But her daughters are just happy to have her home.
Oh, gosh. I have wished so many Christmases that my mom would be home, and now she is, so it's pretty great.
Kidd and her family know her days are numbered, but are determined to make up for lost time. Rachel Ryan, 19 News Nightcast.